Hello seeders, so today we're looking at the first video that is going to lead us into the crash course or the PHP series that we're about to embark on. And in this video we're going to be setting up our development environment, and we're going to be making use of Docker to run our PHP MySQL scripts. Over on docker.com you click on get started, and you're supposed to download the Docker desktop version. I already have Docker downloaded and installed on my Mac computer. You can get the Windows version or Linux depending on the operating system you have running. But regardless of the operating system you have running, the process to get PHP and MySQL up and running is practically the same. After you have the Docker desktop downloaded, you can just simply run the Docker desktop app to get it up and running. Okay, it's telling us there is an update, so I'll quickly pause the video, install my update, and I'll get back to you. So now that we have the Docker desktop app installed, updated, I believe you've done the same on your computer. You need to go to Products, Docker Hub. Go to Docker Hub and search for PHP. It brings out a list of, you can see different images that are available. We're looking for the PHP image that we're going to make use of in our current project. And it gives us a step-by-step process on how to easily get PHP up and running. I've already created a folder on my desktop called PHP series, and it's telling us here that we need to create a Docker file in the PHP project and paste all what we have here. So I'll go ahead and create that, a file called Docker file, and paste in the code we got from there. And it's just basically telling us that our working directory is where our container is going to be stored, and it's going to copy all the scripts or whatever we have here, our files from the current local storage into our working directory and have it run from there. We're going to rename the section that says your script into index.php, because that's the file that is going to be the default. It's going to be the default page of the website, index.php. And let's quickly create a PHP script. Media, yeah, I think that's it. So it says run the command to build and run the Docker image. So to build the image, we're going to write in this docker build-t my-php add dots, and the name of the image we're going to create is going to be called my-php-app. So we put that in to get that to build the image. And while that is building, it's telling us that to run the image, we need to run this other command that says docker run it, and the name is going to be my running app. So the name of the container that is going to run the image is going to be called my running app, and it's going to run the image we built earlier called my PHP app. So let's put that in, and it executes, and it says welcome to Seed Media. As exciting as this might be, most websites are not going to be running on a command prompt or within a terminal, so we have to think of a way to actually get this running in the browser. And if we head back over to the Docker documentation, we scroll down and search for something that has to do with Apache or Nginx, depending on the server you prefer to work with. I will be making use of Apache in this tutorial. Okay, it says that Apache without a Docker file, you can just actually type this in and have this running directly. Okay, so let's clear out the console terminal. Okay, let's run this and see. Okay, let's run this. I'm going to change it to 7.4. Where is it telling us error response? The container Apache map is already in use by a container. You can remove or rename my container. Okay, I think I already have a container that is making use of this, so probably you won't get this error in yours. So let's see a list of all the containers we have here. Container ls-a. Okay, so we have a container with this name making use of already that. So let's just remove it and see. Docker remove the container ID. And that's all. Yeah. So now I think we can run our code. And let's go. Okay, it's telling us that the ports 80 is already in use, so we can actually switch ports. It's good that this is actually happening. It lets us know that we can actually run Apache using the different ports. So let's use port 3000. Run it. Instead, if we go back to our web browser and visit localhost port 3000, you can see welcome to Seed Media. So let's be sure that it's actually running. Let's make changes to it, and this is with Docker. Save that, refresh, and you can see that it's actually running our browser. It's as simple as that. So you can make use of a different port. You're not stuck using the port 80 that is provided within the Docker documentation. If you want to make use of a different port, you're free to make use of that. You might have port 80 tied down to another application, and you wouldn't want to interrupt that. So right now we're ready to make use of the Docker Compose file. So let's head over back to Google and do a little bit of search of Docker Compose. It takes us to the Docker documentation on Compose, and then let's scroll down, and it's telling us that we should create a docker-compose.yml file, and we set up. It's going to follow this kind of structure that we have to run our PHP. So let's just copy this out and delete everything we don't need and make use of those we need. So let's say new file. Let's say docker-compose.yml, and we paste this in. So we're going to be making use of version 3.8, and we're going to be referencing our PHP image that we created earlier, the PHP 7.4 Apache image, and we're going to change this to 3000. So we're going to be making use of port 3000 in the local computer and mapping to port 80 in the container. Now we're going to copy all our files that we have within the source folder and moving into this folder. So let's go ahead and create a folder called source folder and move our index.php over there. Remove it. We can now go ahead and say docker up-d is up and running. And if we were to refresh this, you can see it still works. Can clean that out and refresh that, and it still runs as usual. So the next step is to get MySQL installed, and to get that running we head back over to our Docker hub, search for MySQL. It says it was updated 20 hours ago, and scroll down. We search for the so it says under services. We can just copy this out and save this in our Docker Compose file and paste this into our Docker composer.xml file, and it's supposed to be on the same indentation with the PHP script. So with the add myapp, we save that and run Docker composer up-d, and the D is to ensure that the script does not hog the terminal, that you can actually carry out other activities even while you have your scripts executing in the background. So I'm going to pause the video right now and get back to you once it's done. So we have the DB and the admire container all installed into our Docker file, and basically what the admire does is that it helps us to connect to our database. It's like the default interface or the database, MySQL database, just where you can actually take this out and make use of phpMyAdmin if you're a little bit adventurous and you have the skills for that. And the DB now is going to be connected, and the password we're going to be making use of is example. So you can actually make use of this example, and we're going to be connecting to the admire using port 8080. So let's get it up. Docker compose up-d. So that's it. So if we visit localhost 8080, you can see that we have the admire. We can use root as the password, example. We can log in. But we're going to create our database now. We can actually create our database and connect to it. But the problem is that whatever database we create now is not going to be persistent. So in order to make it persistent, what we need to do is create a storage path for the MySQL database. So every time we stop our every time we stop our Docker file and come back, we still have our data records and whatever we stored still where it is. So we're going to go ahead and delete this database we created. We don't need it for now. And let's head over back to our docker.xml file, and we're going to create a volume. It's going to use for the storage of our MySQL. Let's call this volume, and we're going to create let's call this SQL data, and that's what it's going to be called. Services, we save that. So the next thing we need to do is change. We're not going to make use of the image anymore. Our execution is going to be based off the Docker file directly, and we're going to move this into our Docker file. And within the Docker file, we also want to install our MySQL library. So we're going to say from the PHP Apache container we created earlier, we also want to install the MySQL that's going to allow us to connect to it. So in our docker-compose.yml file, we're going to take this out, I replace it with build, and the build command is going to replace, is going to talk to a context dot, and we're going to say docker file, because the reason we're using the dot here is because the docker file is on the same level of directory as the docker.compose file. So it's going to be docker file, which is the name of this. We save that. So we set up a volume for the database. I'm going to say dash, that's the name of the volume we select SQL data /var/lib MySQL. Yeah. So let's stop. Let's now rerun it again. I think we have an error. Together. Let's clear this run. Okay, so it's building up. It has built up with the MySQL, and we can actually just head over now to while it's still building. Head over to our index.php. Add a little bit of PHP scripts. Just copy and paste that. Okay, so first thing we need to do, let's head over back to our our database file. Let's say root example. Let's create a database called users and a table. Create a table called users detail. Let's ask for name, which is going to be a varchar, and int, and the ID is going to be auto increment, and we save it. That save it. Okay, so 50. Save, yeah. So the database is called users and the table is called users details. I want to input names. So let's paste the PHP script and we insert into this, and let's run it and see if our script works. Okay, run twice. Let's show there. And you can see I ran it twice and it has been saved. So what we've successfully done is set up a Docker environment for connecting PHP MySQL and having that run on our local computer. We're going to be making use of this as our local development environment in the PHP series that we're about to embark on. If you've not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and check the notification bell icon and share the links with your friend, and I'll see you at the next video. Thank you.